Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It is wonderful to see you, as I am wont to say. Thank you, friends, for joining me. And I apologize for not having shaved. And congratulations go to Michael Greenfield. That was a fantastic article, Michael, in Guitar Magazine. Love the interview. Love the pictures. Always great to see the pictures of the things you make. Friends, let me ask you a question. How long have you carried your fear? The great philosopher Plato said, we can easily forgive a child who's afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. And friends, we are about to enter the season of light. Fear is crippling. And we are reading about somebody, Jacob, one of the patriarchs, the last of the patriarchs, who did flourish, but was still a constant prisoner of events which never took place. Fear is a projection of something that never happened onto the present. It keeps you a prisoner. I hear the dogs. Now, the twin festivals of light, which are almost upon us, takes place during the darkest time of the year, the month of Tevet or Capricorn, because that is the part of the year to the ancients ruled by fear and by time, and fear and time go inexorably hand in hand. Fear paralyzes us and steals time. And time is the only thing you never get back, my friends. And the twin festivals of light celebrate the growing light that allows us to see things differently. We fear less in the light than in the dark. Put on any horror movie and you'll see. Now, the great similarity in Christmas and Chanukah is the miracle of light, the growing light. For Christmas, it's about a great light coming into being. For Chanukah, there's a small light growing larger and larger as we illuminate first one and ultimately 8 candles, increasing the light of the world, allowing us to see and allowing us to honor a miracle, survival of the people and of the religion, a miracle, wonder of wonders, miracle of miracle. God took a Daniel once again, a great song from a great show. There are countless miracles in our lives. We just have to see them. In Genesis 33:4, we're told that Esau ran to greet Jacob, embraced and kissed him. The ultimate love of brother for brother. What a miracle in itself that is. Esau, well within his rights to continue to hate, obviously harbored no grudge. So who had really suffered? I believe it was the one whose life became motivated out of fear. Esau alone weeps at the reunion. Jacob stays impassive, and we saw that he puts forward his belongings in the order he's willing to lose them. Concubines and their children, Leah and hers, and then finally, Rachel and Joseph, the only ones he truly treasured. And he calculated it in expectation of retribution, all because of his fear. And he ends the reunion as it began with deception. He convinces Esau to return home to Seir to await him while he runs in the opposite direction so that he will not have to see Esau again. And the brothers are actually never mentioned again as brothers. Aristotle had said, he who has overcome his fears will truly be free. Friends, what do you need to be free? Do you know which fear, if any, imprisons you? When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden light and the sweet silver song of a lark. I love the Man of La Mancha. What a great show. I have to see it next time it comes around. And next week's Hanukkah, the festival of lights and miracles, and we are not so afraid when there is light. And here's the candle lighting schedule for you. Tuesday, December the 16th, the first candle will be lit, and it increases by 1 candle a day until the 23rd, when all 8 will be lit. And we'll talk more about Hanukkah next week, and we'll light some candles together, my friends. The time to hesitate is through. No time to wallow in the mire. Try now, we can only lose, and our love become a funeral pyre. Come on, baby, light my fire. Now, one of the great symbols of all time and one of the classic elements of creation is fire. Have a fantastic candle lighting, my friends, and may Chanukah Harry satisfy all your wants and needs. I've had some great questions of late about the Midrash and Mishnah, and I thought I would take a moment to explain. The Midrash is the body of exegesis or interpretations done by the rabbis of the Tanakh. It was the rabbinic hermeneutics which became the Talmud ultimately. And probably the most famous and most quoted would be the Midrash Genesis Rabbah, which I have mentioned before. It comes from Judaism's classic period of the 3rd century, forming an Aggadic commentary on the book of Genesis. Friends, the Torah is a study in beginnings. It tells us not only what happened, but why. Today we read Genesis as a book of how Israel saw the great past unfold. But the great framers of the Midrash in the 3rd and 4th centuries, they saw it differently. For the rabbis who created Genesis Rabbah, the book of Genesis tells the story of the Jewish people in the here and now. For them, what happened to the patriarchs and matriarchs signals what will happen to their descendants. So the importance of Genesis for the sages derives not from its lessons about the past, but its message for Israel's then present and its future. See, to them, what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did in the past shaped the future history of Israel. The interest is not merely in history as a source of lessons. It is history as the treasury of truths about their here and now, and about tomorrow. And it transformed the picture of the past into a prophecy for tomorrow, because in their own day, they entertained deep and dreadful forebodings about Israel's prospects. We know the Midrash Genesis Rabbah came to closure in Israel around the 4th century. Friends, one of the most significant events in history was taking place. The Roman Empire was becoming Christian, and Judaism from that time to now had to address a world in which the truths of Christianity and not Judaism were found to be self-evident. There was a 2-part change occurring which our sages were caught up in. Rome became Christian, and a formerly despised and illicit religious group took power, and at the same time Julian, whom Christians have called the apostate, became emperor. He brought back paganism and, like Nebuchadnezzar before, allowed the Jews to rebuild the temple. This sounds great, doesn't it? A rebuilding of the temple. This was part of his program of embarrassing Christianity and proving Jesus was wrong. See, the Gospels showed Jesus predicting the temple would never be rebuilt. But a rebuilt temple proves him wrong along with everything else. And Israel would regain the sacred city of Jerusalem and its holy altar. And God would receive the sacrifices so long suspended. It's about 300 years since the temple had been destroyed. And by Israel's hopeful reckoning, the world would conclude the sorry history it had just gone through. Now, unfortunately, within the year, Julian died on a battlefield, near Babylon, actually, where the majority of Jews had lived. Christians reported his final words as, "Galilean, thou hast triumphed." Not quite a Father forgive them, but it's pretty good karmic last words. Christians now claim that the Antichrist was dead, and that Christ's rule would endure for millennia. So the Christian world concluded that Jesus was now finally vindicated as the Christ. Suddenly, things changed. And a policy drawn from the program against paganism suddenly limited Israel's right to the security and freedom that nation had enjoyed. Their institution of self-government in the land of Israel, the rule by their patriarch, came to an end. Standing on the gallows with my head in the noose, any minute now I'm expecting all hell to break loose. People are crazy and times are strange. I'm locked in tight, I'm out of range. I used to care, but things have changed. So the 4th century became the first Christian century, and the West was changed forever. This, my friends, is the background through which the Midrash was written. And the sages of Genesis Rabbah turned it into a message for Israel's living history, and they did this by metaphor. They made Rome Esau or Ishmael. The identification of Rome as Esau was a fresh idea. In the early Mishnah, about 200 years earlier, Rome was a place, not a symbol. In Genesis Rabbah, Rome is symbolized by Esau. because Esau is sibling. Esau is relation, competitor, enemy, brother. So by acknowledging Rome as the counterpart to Israel, the sages simply opened Genesis and found Israel, that is Jacob, and his brother, his enemy, in Esau. So they stated the obvious. Esau is Rome, Jacob is Israel, and their relationship represents what Israel and Rome would work out in their current time with an eye to the future. Esau rules now, but Jacob possesses the birthright. Rome was seen as the last of the four great empires, Persia, Media, Greece, and Rome. And after Rome, Israel saw Israel's age of glory. The sages were basically saying, Rome and Christianity are an heir of Abraham, as the texts claim. But we remain the legitimate Israel, the bearer of the birthright. We, not you. So you are our brother Esau, Ishmael, Edom. What a fantastic projection of hope for the people. Now, speaking of people and of this season of sharing and giving, peace on earth, goodwill to men, I observed a couple of very interesting incidents on the subway the other day. A couple was standing in the middle of the car, and in front of them was this frail, feeble-looking young woman, all bundled up and balancing a bunch of things, as we are often wont to do. And, this fellow says to her, "Why do you stand and block the door, keeping people from easily entering and exiting?" I have to say, during all of the stops that I sat there and observed them, no one had tried to enter or exit from that door while she was standing there. She apologized and started to move, and the fellow's companion says, "You stay right where you are, don't move." I know sometimes you have to stand and lean by the door to keep balance. I know I do. And this poor woman didn't know what to do anymore. She moved this way and that way. And the couple continued arguing with each other about whether the person should stand there or not. It was like watching the angel and devil we tend to carry within us, or that sits on our shoulders like we see in all the cartoons, yelling back and forth at each other. Then a few minutes later, this elderly woman enters and asks this person if they could move their bag from a seat so she could sit down. The person looks at her and said, "No." I was quite stunned. The season of light and miracles is upon us. Peace on earth, goodwill to man. And friends, now that Jacob has fooled Esau into going home, he feels relatively safe. Vayeshev, and he settled. We're about to begin the Joseph Chronicles, one of the most fascinating characters in our history and our mythology. Dreams, sweet dreams for me, dreams, sweet dreams for you. And perhaps in honor of it, I had the most incredible dream the other night. I considered it a Christmas Chanukah dream. I know we all dream many dreams every night. And some of us remember every dream and every deal, and some remember so little that they swear they don't dream at all. I fall into the latter category, even though I know we do dream. So when I remember one, it is extra significant. As the immortal song goes, I closed my eyes, drew back the curtain to see for certain what I thought I knew. Far, far away, someone was weeping, but the world was sleeping. Any dream will do. Joseph, what a great show. Dreams, the very word conjures up magic for people. We all dream. We all know the Joseph story of dreams. Records of dreams and dream interpretations date back to before 5000 BC, to Sumerian times. Dreams provide inspiration, and dreams excite us. Dreams stoke the imagination. As Hamlet said, to sleep, perchance, to dream. Sigmund Freud built a career and an industry from dreams. He wrote in a letter to a friend, "Do you suppose that someday a marble tablet will be placed on the house inscribed with these words? In this house, on July 24th, 1895, the secret of dreams was revealed to Dr. Sigmund Freud." At the moment, I see little prospect of it. Well, friends, that tablet does exist. And he said something that Joseph had said all those years ago. The secret is revealed, and it is up to God to reveal it. As Van Morrison saying, these dreams of you, so real, and so true. Now, the 20th century was filled with the illusion of dreams, from Martin Luther King to the Everly Brothers. And you still only have to hear certain things and you float away on a dream. All the leaves are brown and the sky is gray. I've been for a walk on a winter's day. And especially these days, who doesn't think of California dreaming, my friends? Now, the story opens with Joseph at 17. We are told he is a squealer. He reports on his brothers to his father, and his father gives him the infamous coat of many colors, ketonet pasi. I love the depictions of the coat, but the reality is we have no idea what the Hebrew coat of many colors actually means. And there was only one other with the same description ever mentioned in the Tanakh, and it belongs to a woman named Tamar, who was raped by her brother and her coat torn. And the two stories are somehow connected, and in both instances the coat is a symbol of injustice among siblings. Now, Joseph's brothers saw that Jacob loved him the most, so they couldn't even say hello to him. They couldn't even speak a greeting to him, we are told in the Torah. Dibero l'shalom. They couldn't even say shalom to him. Now, don't forget, this is after 17 years of watching this favoritism take place. And they say shalom to everybody. So what happens? Joseph has a dream and he decides to tell his brothers, and they hate him even more. This is the binding sheaves dream, where his rises and theirs bows to his. Genesis 37:7. We were binding sheaves in the field, and here was my sheaf rising and standing up too. And here, your sheaf surrounded and bowed to my sheaf. Now, not knowing when to quit, he adds, here, I've had another dream, and here were the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowing to me. This time, Jacob gets pissed off too, because now the brothers and the parents bow to him. And no one knows if these are prophetic dreams or not. It turns out that they are, but at the time, no one knows. You see, friends, these dreams are the first different types of dreams that the Bible gives us. They're not direct messages from God, like his appearance in the dreams had by Abimelech, Pharaoh, and Jacob. These dreams now require human interpretation and may also express the hidden desires and self-perception of the dreamer. His brothers had referred to him as Baal Halomot, dream master. But in biblical Hebrew, it has a very sarcastic edge to it that the translation doesn't give you. And there are different types of dreams, my friend. And our ability to know whether a dream is symbolic or prophetic is small at best. And we actually never hear any more dreams that Joseph has. He becomes an interpreter. Something he could not do for himself. And the description we get is somebody who is nothing more than an adolescent, narcissistic tattletale. No wonder the brothers hated him. So the brothers head off to Shechem with the sheep, the same place where the rape of Dinah took place. And Jacob sends Joseph there to spy on them. Go, see how your brothers are and how the sheep are, and bring me back word. Well, we all know the story. The brothers see him coming. They decide to kill him. Reuben argues they should not kill him, so they decide to put him in a pit instead. A crash of drums, a flash of light, my gold coat flew out of sight. The colors faded into darkness. I was left alone and in the dark. Now, there has been much discussion, my friends, about types of pits and what this means. We read, the pit was empty. There was no water in it. Rashi took this to be redundant. If it is empty, of course there's no water in it. And he concluded that there were snakes and scorpions in it. And his reasoning is based on the discussion of types of pits. But that's not important here. And friends, it is not redundant. Two things are actually conveyed in its description of being empty. It conveys that he is alone and helpless. And the fact that there's no water in it conveys that his survival is in danger. See, deep cisterns of this sort, too deep to climb out of, were commonly used for water storage. So let's face it, friends. By putting him in a pit he could never climb out of, his brothers were killing him without killing him. Subsequent to putting him in the pit, the brothers decide to sell him to passing Ishmaelites for 20 weights of silver, an amount that will be mentioned again later in other circumstances, and they take him to Egypt. And so it begins. Reuben comes back to remove him from the pit, finds him gone, and we realize that, as we saw earlier in the Torah, two different stories have now been fused together. And our Jacobian theme of deception and karma comes back. Genesis 37:31, they took Joseph's coat and slaughtered a he-goat. Jacob was ironically paid back for appropriating his brother's birthright. He had to work an additional 7 years for Rachel on account of her sister's birthright. Now he is paid back for appropriating his brother's blessing. He deceived his father using his brother's clothing and the meat and skin of a goat. Now his sons deceive him using their brother's clothing and the blood of a goat. It was the Twilight Zone before there was a Twilight Zone. Friends, the Torah does not excuse Jacob's behavior ever. Instead, it teaches acts have consequences. They always did. They always will. They send the ripped up coat back. Jacob recognizes it and concludes that a wild animal killed his favorite son, and he goes into mourning. This is a parsha about defining moments in life. We all have them, but too often we don't know we're in a defining moment. And there have been several in this parsha so far. Joseph tells his dreams. The brothers decide to kill him. Reuben convinces them to put him in a pit instead. Judah orchestrates the sale to the Ishmaelites and concocts the beast incident as Jacob's deception comes home to roost. All of these are defining moments, and there will be more. And as I thought about these, I thought of some of the defining moments in my life. And as if transported in a Charles Dickens world of the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, I could see the moments and course changes that occurred, my defining moments. Would I do something differently? You bet. What, my friends, are your defining moments? And do our moments define us, or are they encounters along the way to who we need to become? Do we ever know our defining moments? If we recognize them at the time, think hard before some of our actions. See the field laid out in front of us. In this, our year of what if? What if? What if he was not sold? Would there be no karmic return for Jacob? I hear dogs. Would Joseph never have become father to Pharaoh? That strange and interesting term. Would we have ended up with possibly no survival due to the famine? Everything that happens does happen for a reason. Now, there's this very strange break in this parsha. For the story of Judah, Yehudah, to be thankful, the ancestor of the Jews, the only brother to get his own Bible story. And a strange story it is. It takes 20 years to develop, giving us our first view of levirate marriage and onanism. And the second instance of a woman veiling herself. And it's a mini karmic tale inside of a larger karmic tale. And it gives us our first reference to sacred prostitutes, Akedeshah. And ironically, it's a story involving a woman named Tamar, but not necessarily the same Tamar as the one of A Coat of Many Colors fame. But friends, the audience would recognize the parallels, and she too gives birth to twins. The elder puts his hand out, and she ties a crimson string on it, and he pulls back in. And when the kids are born, the younger comes first. And so the story of the younger ahead of the older repeats in a further genealogy of usurping firstborn rights. Wow! Something for everyone. A tragedy tonight. Fade back to Joseph being bought by Potiphar. Another defining moment as the fate of a nation changes. And in a very interesting twist of fate, Mrs. Potiphar, it sounds funny to call it Mrs. Potiphar, accuses Joseph of trying to rape her, and Joseph now becomes the victim of a deceiver. And friends, beware, because the deceiver picks the words which will get their desired effect. He's put in prison, where he meets the cupbearer and baker, and Joseph's career as dream interpreter is about to begin. So the first divine power possessed by a human in the Tanakh is shown to be the interpretation of dreams. And we all love a good dream interpreter. At the beginning of his story, he appeared not to be aware of the prophetic import of his own dreams. But now, he's able to interpret the dreams of others. Next, he will be able to interpret the dreams of Pharaoh, affecting the destiny not just of his own family, but of nations. Friends, share the defining moments of your life with your family and friends. Thank you all for joining me. Share and honor the miracles of your life. Give thanks, share, care, love your family. Be well, be happy, be thankful, be grateful, be blessed. Share those blessings and never stop dreaming. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. Love you all. Have a fantastic candle lighting, a wonderful start to Chanukah, and we'll do some candle lighting ourselves next week. Be well, be happy. Love you all. Thank you again for joining me. Take care. Shabbat Shalom.